Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and unlock the power of public court records together. I've always wondered how people run quick background checks or dig into those fascinating local legal cases. Well, as it turns out, the process is incredibly accessible once you know exactly where to look.
Seriously, did you know there is an absolute goldmine of public legal history available for free, literally right from your couch? The judicial system is massive, sure, but at the end of the day, it's a public institution. That means lawsuits, criminal charges, property records, it's all legally accessible to you and usually at absolutely no cost. We just need to figure out how to open the right digital doors.
Now you might be wondering, why bother searching these records in the first place? Well, the real-world value here is immense, and it's definitely not just for lawyers. We're talking about landlords vetting potential tenants, history buffs tracing their genealogy, or even journalists tracking local community news and arrests. You can even use it to verify your own legal standing, just to make sure a weird clerical error isn't haunting your public profile. Ultimately, it's a tool for absolute transparency, and it's incredibly empowering to have this access.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the power of public records. Second, navigating 3 Northampton counties. Third, our step-by-step online search guide. Fourth, decoding jargon and roadblocks. And finally, privacy limits and legal disclaimers. Let's get to it. Starting with Section 1, the power of public records. Let's take a look at understanding exactly what's available to us.
When you finally tap into these portals, it's pretty mind-blowing. You're looking at a massive, highly organized snapshot of civil society. It's truly fascinating. You have criminal dockets covering everything from a basic traffic ticket up to major felonies. You've got civil cases for things like breaches of contract, family courts handling custody disputes, probate courts dealing with estates and wills, and of course land records for property deeds and mortgages. It's basically the entire life cycle of a community's legal interactions laid out right in front of you.
Moving on to Section 2, navigating 3 Northampton counties. We really need to solve this geographical conundrum first.
Okay, so before you even type a single name into a search bar, we have to tackle the biggest hurdle beginners face. Believe it or not, Northampton County actually exists in 3 completely different states. It's true. If you're looking for Easton, Pennsylvania, you'll need the County Suite or UJS portals. If you want Eastville, Virginia, you're heading straight to OJS 2.0. And for Jackson, North Carolina, that's their eCourts portal. Honestly, just knowing your exact state framework right out of the gate is going to save you hours of pulling your hair out.
All right, Section 3, Step-by-Step Online Search Guide. Let's talk about executing your query effectively.
Once you're absolutely sure you're in the right state, the actual methodology is surprisingly universal across the board. First up, obviously, navigate to the correct portal. Second, you'll usually have to accept an end-user agreement or just enter the site as a guest. Third, input your search criteria. But pay attention here, because this is the real secret sauce. Step 4, applying advanced filters. Taking a moment to set a specific date range or filter by court level is usually the exact thing that separates a successful, clean search from a frustrating, overwhelming wall of raw data.
Let's dig into those identifiers for a second. Searching by a common first and last name is easy, sure, but it can yield hundreds of useless results. If you absolutely must use a name, always try to include a date of birth. But without a doubt, the absolute best, most direct route is searching by a docket number. In Pennsylvania, for example, a format like CP22CR001234-2023 basically acts like a GPS coordinate. It drops you instantly onto the exact file you need, no guessing required.
You should also keep in mind the difference between guest access and registered access. Basic timeline browsing, just looking at the index queries, is virtually always free for guests. But if you ever find yourself needing to perform formal electronic filing, or if you want to download those full multi-page PDF documents, you'll likely need to take the extra step and register for an official account on the portal.
Which brings us to Section 4, decoding jargon and roadblocks. It's time to translate some of this legalese into plain English.
Okay, you are going to see the term docket sheet everywhere when you do this. The crucial takeaway here is that a docket sheet is not the full, physical case file packed with all the gritty evidence and witness testimonies. No, it's simply the timeline. Think of it as the official summary log of every significant action, motion, and hearing. It gives you the life story of the case at a very quick glance.
Now, I found the OTN, or Offense Tracking Number, absolutely fascinating. It brilliantly solves the headache of tracking people who have incredibly common names or those who might be using aliases. This unique ID stays securely attached to the defendant throughout the entire life of that specific criminal matter. It cuts right through name variations like a hot knife through butter. Also, If you happen to be searching in Pennsylvania, you absolutely must know the difference between an MDJ and a common pleas court. Magisterial district judges, the MDJs, handle the small stuff, small claims and minor traffic tickets. On the flip side, the courts of common pleas handle the heavy hitters, like major felonies and high-dollar lawsuits. If you don't toggle between these two properly in your search, you might end up looking for a major felony in a small claims database and mistakenly think someone has a totally clean record.
I quickly learned that a quote-unquote bad search is usually just a system quirk on our end. Searching without a date of birth, misspelling a name by literally one letter, or expecting an arrest from yesterday to instantly magically appear online, that's going to give you 0 results every time. Patience, double-checking your spelling, and remembering that human clerks actually need time to digitize these files are absolutely key to a good search.
You also have to consider what's known as the legacy gap. If you're doing deep historical or genealogy research, you might eventually hit a digital dead end. For instance, in Pennsylvania's Northampton County, pre-1979 records usually mean you have to step away from the computer and make a physical trip to the local archives. But hey, if you can't visit in person, they'll actually do the research for you by mail for a flat rate of $5. Just a quick heads up though, their rules specifically beg you not to mail them a $50 or $100 bill. They take their exact change very, very seriously.
And that leads us into Section 5, Privacy Limits and Legal Disclaimers. Let's cover what you can't see and exactly why that is.
Now, while these are indeed public records, the portals use strict automated redactions to balance transparency with personal safety. You generally won't find juvenile records, cases sealed by a judge, or legally expunged files. Plus, sensitive data like social security numbers or intimate child custody reports are systematically blocked from free online view. And honestly, that is exactly how it should be.
This automated privacy actually creates what we call the pleading access gap. Free digital portals are fantastic for indices and summaries. You can easily see that a lawsuit was filed and who ultimately won. But accessing the juicy multi-page complaint narrative or the actual physical evidence? Yeah, that almost always requires you to physically walk into the courthouse and request the file directly from the clerk.
Because of this, it is so vital to maintain an objective mindset. These digital dockets are factual summaries. They are not storybooks. They give you a snapshot in time, showing what happened procedurally, but they almost never explain the complex human reasons why a judge made a specific decision.
And of course, time for the obligatory, but absolutely crucial legal disclaimer. This explainer is for general reference and educational purposes only. It is absolutely not a substitute for professional legal advice. Also, because these free portals aren't consumer reporting agencies, you cannot legally use this quick web data for FCRA-regulated decisions, like denying someone housing or employment. Always consult a legal professional for personalized, real-world application.
Well, you now have the blueprints to bust through the legal jargon and responsibly uncover the public legal history of your community. But it does beg a really fascinating question. In an era where decades of our community's civil and criminal history are just a few quick clicks away, how do we perfectly balance our right to absolute public transparency with our inherent need for personal privacy? Something to think about. Thanks so much for exploring this with me, and I'll see you in the next explainer.